The establishment of an as-of-yet unnamed outpost in the newly founded Republic of Saffier has been a great success. Trucks, excavators, and machines of all kinds flitter to and fro on newly trod roads and paths. Preliminary exploration has revealed that the rumors are true. Saffier is rich with natural resources, from coal and petroleum to exotic minerals rarely found throughout the rest of the Union. The Directorate of Interior Development, at the behest of Premier Martin, has given us a new prerogative: the establishment of the first true city in the Republic of Saffier. Through combined efforts of the proletariat, we can exploit the bounty provided to us in this great frontier. However, challenges yet await us as the air begins to turn cold. There is no challenge we cannot overcome together, however. With technology and the might of the Union behind us, we will create a new bastion from which to expand into this new land. For the people and the Union, arise now, Republic of Saffier. Heyo, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Saffier. It looks a little different. I downloaded a mod that just upscales some of the textures, changes some things around, just to make it look a little bit prettier, I feel. Before we start this episode, I want to thank you all for the warm feedback and support on the last episode, and just want to mention that we still need a name for this settlement we're building. Off camera in the last episode, I didn't get to show it in the episode, but I started off, planning out the start of the town. And I decided that I dislike this entire layout, so I want to redo it. So after clearing all of that out, we are left with this big empty plot of land. Is this road necessary for anything? It is not, so I want to quickly clear this. Checking our topography, we can see that it's pretty extreme. It doesn't help that a lot of it was hurt by the earlier placement of buildings that I did, but this is what we have to work with. And I feel like we can do a little bit more with this, so we'll speed up time here to let this concrete truck get across. I'm actually going to take out this road. We'll reestablish it, but I want to try to get as much buildable space as I can in here, because we want this to be roughly 300. This block to be roughly 300 meters. As I mentioned, I believe in the last episode, that is the limit to how far a worker can go before they freak out and decide that they can't do anything and contribute nothing. So yeah, let's just kind of bring this out a little ways, trying to follow the topography, not let it get too close to any topography that's too severe. And then I have a couple of things here, but I'll talk about those later. I do want to let those stay there, so I'm actually just going to bring this over here. Right, so taking off the topography lines, now we are left with this big ol' buildable area. So we'll let the game run. I want to explain a couple of things I've been doing. So, a couple of things that we need to consider. So over here, while we're planning out that, I have I believe I covered the power grid in the last episode. Essentially, we have I'll go over that real quick. We have these big high voltage cables that run from the border over here into a high voltage switch, which has 3 connections. That way, the big line comes in and can come back out that way when I want to expand it. And we have a 10 megawatt power line feeding into a transformer. That transformer then feeds into an electrical switch. That way I can carry voltage over this way into another switch, That switch powers or goes into a substation, along with going over here into another switch where we have our water system. Right. So the water system in this game is pretty easy. Right here, we have 3 of these water pumps being built. They take fresh water from the river and go over here into this big water pump, which pipes the water into a water treatment center. That water treatment center is then connected to a another pump to bring it up into a big water tower. Over here, you can see feeding out of the medium voltage electrical switch, we have a wire going into a substation. Now, eventually, this will be connected up to a bunch of water substations around the place to supply piped water. I've not done that yet because I want to plan out the buildings first. Now that the grass is regrown, let's do that while our little guys, the boys, you know, they work on the water supply down here. So, first things first, I feel like I made a mistake when I was planning this before. I want this community to be centered around a bus station. Why? That way I can pick up workers and whisk them around to wherever I need them to go easily. And as this is going to be a small neighborhood, I feel like I don't actually need... What is this? These sorts of paths and roads get lost all the time, so ignore that. But anyway, I mentioned the 300-meter distance, and that's important because, yeah, 380 meters. So whatever I build over in this corner will not be accessible to people over in this corner, which is not ideal, but we can make do. In the center, essentially, is where I want all the essential services to be. That's going to be schools, kindergartens, food, and alcohol, because apparently everybody likes getting drunk. Granted, this game is based off of Soviet Russia. But, anywho. Going back here, I want to build a bus station. I want to build it to be relatively large, but not absolutely massive. So, for example, this one has 2 platforms, 4 platforms. I'd like it to have both of its entrances on one side, but I'm not sure if we can get that. This one's pretty good because it only has the one entrance there. Let's see. One has 3, 4, 6, 2, 2. I think I'm going to go with this one. It's not ideal, but it serves our purposes. You can see there it's connecting up to these 2 substations because it needs power. It's also connecting up with a pathway that I forgot to get rid of, so let's just get rid of that and all the grass near to it, apparently. Let's see. We'll try to place this roughly centered. Trying to angle it to where I can dodge the road coming through that power line. And I'm going to get rid of these pathways I placed down because they're no longer necessary. Going to bring this road through. And these crossings and whatnot will be totally reworked over time, so don't get attached to them. Yeah, just bringing that across like so. Now we have our bus station. And around that bus station, we should put the essential services. So, before we do that, I want to bring a couple of pathways here. Like so. Kind of just closing off this bus station. Alright. So, I want this to go across like that. And like that. And now we have 6 of these segmented little areas, and we'll place more than one thing in each of them. So first and foremost, the citizens need a shopping center. That way they can get their food and clothing, among other things. I need a gosh darn excavator. What are you doing? Nothing. Alright, so I bought one of these little excavators and just placed it in a road depot, so it's not actually attached to a construction office, which means that it will just sit here until I need to do something, which is great. So, if I... Right, it's just idling. I should be able to grab one of these guys and carefully place it to where it's not aggravated at me about being too close to a road. Flatten out the terrain, and boom. Now, similarly, we need a pub because of the aforementioned alcohol dependency. And this also needs to be right on a road. So that works fine. Right about there. We also need a place for culture, and because we are limited on money, resources, and people, I'm not going to go and build the cinema first. A lot of people recommend that, and generally, I think that's a better idea than what I'm doing, but I just want to be able to get citizens in here as fast as possible, because they will greatly aid in building up everything I need. So, trying to fit this in here somehow, maybe. When there's a will, there's a way, of course. I really want to try to get this as close as I can to the central road. I don't think I'm going to be able to. So, I'm going to say screw it and place it right here. Now, a couple more things that's incredibly important. I want to build a hospital. Why not a small clinic? Because the small clinic sucks. So I'm trying to... I should elaborate on that, but basically it only has a slot for one ambulance. Yeah, and just in general I find it very annoying to use. So I'm actually going to deviate from my original plan. That way I can place down this clinic, or hospital rather, because residents would like to be in walking distance from the hospital. So I'm going to try to accommodate that as best as I can. You can see how much I'm fighting the hilly terrain here. Yeah, it's very difficult to work with the... not work with, because you do work with it, but it's definitely difficult to accommodate how challenging the terrain can be sometimes. So I'm going to drag out just another pathway like this. And the last couple things I need are a kindergarten to hold children that are... That's an orphanage, excuse me. A kindergarten to hold children, young children. And I hope I can place that right here. Please? Just about. Maybe if I turn it this way? Nope, that's worse. I won't turn it this way then. That's also worse. I want to get one of these medium fire stations, that way it'll be somewhat future-proofed until we are ready to get a bigger one. Alright, and now just connecting these up with pathways. And basically, I'm trying to get as much connectivity as I can through here. Because, for example, say I have a house right here. They would have to, like, come down here and then over, and that's less efficient than if I just did like that. I'm not going to do that because that's just stupid, but, yeah. This is the basics required for people to live. There are a couple more things I'll get to later, but, like, these are the essential utilities. And yeah, we can actually start placing down a couple other different things. Once again, I'm going to extend out these pathways. Hopefully. Right, so let's start thinking about where to place houses. Unfortunately, we are more or less locked to these rural flats. You can see they're mostly made of brick. I have one large one that's made of brick. And yeah, there's a couple of these low-quality ones here that are very cheap, and very easy to build. You can see they don't require much in terms of resources. But the biggest problem with that is you can see there the quality of flats, they're on the bottom left, is only 30%. Was it 30%? Was only 63%. That acts as a cap on happiness. So I can provide them with everything they could ever want to their little heart's desire, and they would still be unhappy because they have a crappy house. Um, in general, you want to try to build the best quality houses you can, and that, for the most part, is the prefab houses. Unfortunately, I just don't have access to them. You can just, like, for example, that one has a 93% um, quality of flats. So that's going to be something I definitely want to get in the future. Right now, if I'm correct, yeah, this one right here is the best quality, 87%. So I'm going to try to fit as about 10 of these if I can manage it. That'll be enough workers to fill all of the service sector jobs, along with the whatever worker requirements I need in the future. So I'm just trying to place them kind of like this, as close together as I can get them. So a little bit of history, actually, because I've been trying to learn a bit more about Soviet city planning and design. Of course, this is a lot different than how, this is a fictional world, right? It's Laurentia. This is the sister city to Octon. But even still, it's going to take a lot of inspiration from places like the Soviet Union, the Eastern Bloc, the Second World, from the Western perspective. So I want to try to paint this as accurately as I can, and be fair in sort of the way I represent this style of cities. So, the best I can tell, these sorts of buildings that I'm designing here were called Stalinkas. They were built during the Stalin era of the Soviet Union, mostly for the Soviet elite, but not necessarily exclusively. They were very well designed and very opulent. They were Stalin's ideal visage for what the common people should be able to have. Of course, because they were relatively high quality, the reality of the situation was they mostly just went to the Communist Party elite rather than the common folks. But that's neither here nor there. A lot of the other designs of flats that I could build, but I'm not going to just yet, they seem to be more akin to Khrushchevkas, if I'm pronouncing that right. Please don't slaughter me in the comments section. I'm not a Russian speaker. But those were built after the death of Stalin, and pushed heavily by Nikita Khrushchev after he became chairman of the USSR. They were much, much cheaper to build. I don't know if you can tell. I mean, they'll get built eventually, so we'll see them soon. But these guys were very, very fancy. And in a nation that was trying to rebuild from the Second World War, that's not an expense that could really be spared, especially when there was a lot of housing that needed to be built, and the standard of living in the Soviet Union at the time, because of the housing shortage, was quite low. So Nikita Khrushchev, after Stalin died, saw the issue and pushed this new design of housing forward. However, before Stalin, there was Lenin. And Lenin actually would be pioneering something probably much closer to this design that I was saying would not suit our purposes. These, I don't believe they had a design, like a name for the design, but they were much more utilitarian. They followed the constructivist architecture design, a form of modernism that we associate the, commie blocks with brutalism, and constructivist housing blocks were most certainly the uh, perfection of that sort of design motif. Essentially, they were, whereas Khrushchevkas were to be built as cheaply and as effectively as possible, constructivist designs were even more so. They were to be built en masse as essentially dormitories for the working class. Um, of course, after the Russian Civil War, there was, of course, a housing shortage, just like there was after World War II. Um, so, with Lenin in power, there was a need for more housing, and that's where the housing blocks, the constructivist housing blocks, came in. They were deeply unpopular, however, uh, pretty obviously, in my opinion, as essentially they were putting as many people as possible into as little room as possible. And of course, that wouldn't be exorbitantly popular. So that's why, with the death of Lenin and after Stalin's takeover, the Stalinkas became the most popular. But yeah, what am I doing in the game? I've been rambling on for long enough. I'm building a couple more blocks of these houses. I'm trying to, once again, put them relatively close to one another. I want to... yeah. So, after I place this one in, that's another... we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's going to be 800 people once they all get built. Can I squeeze one in over here, perhaps? No, I have a sewage outlet right there. I have some free space right here. There's a little bit of free space back there. I might see if I can squeeze one in. So, let's bring it back this way. Sometimes you have to do these paths a little weirdly in order to get them to squeeze together as tightly as they can. Let's see. Is this connected? I can't actually see if the path is there. Let's just reconnect that. Yep. Alright, and then back here, I want to connect a path, let's say over here and here. Then we'll connect this up this way. That provides space to drag a path along the roadside. Connect up the buildings as much as we can. With the power lines, there's definitely not enough space to do one here. I think we could squeeze one right here. I'm going to try that. Please, no. Maybe if I got rid of these paths, though. However, I didn't mention this because I was yapping, but wow, that was very quick. I built a sports field over here. The residents get very ticked off if they don't have access to a sports field. So, just like how they crave for a movie theater, they crave to be able to play football. So, trying to provide that. Something I do want to do is, by default, they come with this little option right here, Get Citizens. I want to turn all that off in every one of these buildings until I am ready to actually start requesting citizens be imported. Because otherwise, I'm going to get a bunch of citizens, I'm not going to have things ready for them, and they're all going to die and starve to death. And leave. And that is something I do not want. Another thing I want to do is I want to get my instruction sector assign tool. Want to assign everything to what I already have here. No construction offices have paths to this construction. Why is that? Okay, so with that being done, I don't like that there's an empty space here. This could definitely be used a little more efficiently. But for the most part, I am quite happy with this layout. I do think I can squeeze just a couple more in. We're really trying to push up that population density. So maybe... Come on. Okay, what if I put you like this, though? Oh, you're happy then. We'll mirror you. That way you look just a little prettier. Right, I'll place you there. Now can I put one here? No. Can I put one here? Oh, I probably can. No. What about here? No, because of the power lines. Yeah, once we unlock prefab panel housing, I'll definitely be putting something here. Now, something I want to do quickly that I learned about is I want to redo my foreign workers over here. So I'm going to come in here to the road station, or road things, constructions, that's the word, and try to place one of these free bus stops that I get at the start of the game. This one little excavator that I bought right there is really pulling its weight. So, I'm going to... Why are you confused? You're not. Anyway. Where's my road depot? So we're going to go in here over to the road depot and buy a couple of these buses. Just like one or two. I got two, but I really should have just gotten one. So, these boys, once they get in, they'll head over to fuel up. And then I'm going to assign them on a line to pick up workers from here and drop them off at the bus station. And then force them to get out, because otherwise they just come in and then go back over to the customs house. And I do not want that. So, load here, load workers. We're going to set you to unload right here. We're going to set unload workers and force them to step out of the vehicle at that stop. Righty. And then we're going to launch that and copy the line over to that guy too. Now we're going to quickly find where I have the buses. And we're going to tell them to get workers here. So, there are a maximum amount of foreign workers that can be stored at the customs house at any time. Like, it's not necessarily a hard cap, but like, once it gets to around 30 workers, it just stops filling up. You can see how quickly it's filling up now, because there's not a bus coming to pick them up. So, over here, though, we can just chuck as many workers as we want in, and then the construction office will pick them up and whisk them away to wherever we want them to go. Right, so, we have power, we have water. Well, technically we don't have water. Something I want to mention is sewage. This already got built because of the boys. I love the boys. Yeah, this is a sewage tank. So I built a couple of these around the place, just in little corners. Not all of them have been built, but what this will do is collect sewage from all neighboring buildings. Unfortunately, building a sewage network is incredibly expensive, because sewage pipes are very expensive. Sewage also, unlike water, which I can just throw, we pump it into a tower, it's gravity fed, it can go anywhere. Sewage also has to obey the laws of gravity, which, if I pop on the topographic map, it must flow downhill. So I can't, for example, have the sewage come out here and flow around, because it would be going up, then down. So, that makes sewage very difficult to deal with, because especially if I want the sewage pipes to go all the way down here, I would continuously have to let it go down a slope, pump it back up, back down a slope, pump it back up, etc. That's just really annoying to do, and the easiest thing to do would just be to, like, plop a sewage outlet here, but then that would pollute the entire river and potentially up to where I'm getting my fresh water, and I don't want to do that. So instead, what I'm going to do is, once we actually start getting people in here, I will be getting, this is our technical services. Right now, I just have them filled up with snowplows because we're starting to get close to winter, and we'll see that starting soon. But they will be eventually having to deal with sewage. You can see that there. And I can tell them to get sewage and take it to the customs house. So basically, I'm taking my sewage and exporting it back over the border into the rest of Kinshasa. Yeah. That's great. As for water, I've not set it up yet, but we talked about before, you know, fresh water is pumped into the treatment center, which is pumped into the tower. The tower then has to feed the water out to water substations, if I can find where that is. Water substations. We don't have any right now, but if I've planned this correctly, you can see that I have. Placing this right here will cover this entire neighborhood. I'll probably place a second here to cover any industry buildings that we need over there. The final thing to do is heating. Heating is extremely important. It gets very cold. You can see already, even though it's not snowed, it was briefly -7 degrees Celsius. So a lot of people start with just a proper heating plant. I don't, because this town will not be big. The oil industry, which we plan to set up here, is just straight up, you know, it doesn't need people. We load the oil into trains automatically and just throw them across the border. So this town will never be big, so I think it's smarter to go with the small heating plant. And we're probably going to place this... I want to be able to get this entire neighborhood in range, which means that I can't place it too far, which means ideally I want to place it here. So can I do that? Can. I'm gonna do that. Place it as close to the road as I can. So that does hinder our expansion over this way, unfortunately, but it does have very easy access to workers, which is extremely important. So now if I get rid of this, and probably this briefly, I can connect up the road, and then I'll just connect up the sewage outlet over here. Alright, that is the basics done. That's a city plant, ladies and gentlemen. And we are going to just let this run now. I will see you all in a bit. It's not been that long since I last sent you all off, but I just wanted to show y'all that we just had our first snowfall. And this is why we desperately need a heating plant before we allow anybody to come into the city. Yeah. Harsh winters. So, the Technical Services Department is sending out all of its snowplows. I told them to prioritize the gravel roads as well, as they are just much faster than the dirt roads. But yeah, that is... Just wanted to show y'all how that was going to be working. While I am thinking about it, though, there is something very important that we need to do. The indoor pool, right here, is very cheap. And also not massive. See, the sports fields have a... they don't let people in unless it's more than 5 degrees Celsius, which is not good. Because in the dead of winter, right now, I mean, it's not going to be not snowy until late February. So we want somewhere where citizens can go that allows them to have recreation without, you know, getting hypothermia. Now, I feel like this would fit. However, it does not. Now, you can see that that's carved in quite a slope into the hillside, but it's not that severe, and we can accommodate that severity. I don't know if this needs to be connected to a road, but for the moment, what I'm going to do is cancel this road, connect it up by a path right here. It's in range of most of everything, so we're going to get... These guys will be ticked off, but that should be remedied once we upgrade all the paths to gravel. We're going to assign the construction offices to everything, but we're also going to make this high priority. And the fact that you can see that it's connected means that, yes, they can use this path. So, anyway, I will let you all go and check in later once we have more stuff built. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now past winter, and we are now in our second year of Saffier. Not much has happened. I say that, but quite a lot has actually been happening. As you can see, while we were gone, I paved the second lane of our future highway, and also came through with gravel. These are all gravel. They're not paved yet, excuse me. But being coming through with gravel, I decided to upgrade the footpaths because I was noticing that, like, this guy would not be able to get to all of the services and whatnot it would need to get to. And as a result, it's actually expanded the range of the buildings quite a lot. I feel like I actually slightly overbuilt everything. Additionally, a very important thing has finished. Our heating plant. In close proximity with these buildings, this thing should never run out of workers, which is the plan. But now we need to hook it up to our distribution system. So we're going to take our dumpers and tell them to deliver coal and set that to maximum. And is there a way for me to set this as a priority, I wonder? We're actually not going to set it to 100%. That means the dumpers are going to be doing that constantly. However, you will see that there's one problem. The building is without drinking water. Without drinking water, the citizens will get sick and die and leave. So, let's work on that. As you can see, our water system is slowly coming along. You can see it slowly getting built. But let's work on the actual distribution. So, going into our underground view, we need to try to connect all of these as efficiently as possible. Considering future expansion over in this area, I imagine we'll probably build a few houses up in the hills here. I want to place one of these substations roughly here if I can manage it. So, mirroring the building, hopefully. There we go. And pointing it so where the water is facing that way. Similarly over here, considering that there's one over here already, and we might be building things in this area that would need water. Let's build a small water substation roughly here. And finally, considering this will be an industrial sector that will need water eventually, let's build a third one right here. So, there are two outputs from the water tower, but we have 3 places it's going to. Let's get rid of that, because it's just a holdover from when I was the first plan. Right. So how are we going to split 2 outputs into 3? That's easy. We're only going to use one of the outputs, for now. This is a water switch. It takes 1 input and turns it into 3 outputs. It's incredibly useful. So we're going to place this roughly here. And this guy will take a large pipe coming out from there, and it can split off and go wherever it needs to. We'll build another one right here. And we'll probably build various other branches off of that in the future, but for now we're going to take one of these big water pipes, connect this up right here, and we're going to connect this one down here, over and along, all the way here. Then this water hub specifically is going to get a medium pipe, maybe. A building is in the way, so it's getting annoyed at that. There we go. We'll take another medium pipe and bring it over here. Pipe spaghetti. It begins. Finally, we'll take, actually from here, and bring it that way. That way this can also be brought, this top one can be brought all the way over here, and this one can be brought along. If that makes sense. We're going to tell them to build, and once again, we wait. The early game of Workers and Resources Soviet Republic is extremely slow, as we just get the bare necessities built without really... We're starting from scratch, you know? All we have is a few vehicles running around and one customs house, so it takes a little bit. But, as you can see, things are getting done. So, I will see you all in a minute when I have one last update for the episode. Actually, I do have an update right now. There's something we completely forgot to talk about. Waste. So, each and every one of these buildings produces waste. This one produces a large thing of waste, so we're going to have to deal with that. And it's quite easy to deal with it, actually. We're going to take a small garbage stand. We're actually going to get this one, because it connects to footpaths. And we're going to place these around the place. They have a very small range, unfortunately, so I kind of want to place them as centrally as possible. Unfortunately, with our terrain, that makes it a little difficult. But I'm sure we can finagle it in here somewhere, hopefully. That should take care of our waste system. But who's going to be picking up waste? Well, over here, I think it's time we build our second major building. Well, I say second as if we didn't just build a whole city over here. Over here in maintenance, we find technical services. These are the guys that have our snowplows. And we love our snowplows, but we need something a bit bigger to deal with other things. So we're actually going to build a large technical services building. This will have sewage trucks, garbage trucks, and all of the other doodads and whatchamacallits that we need in order to run our city. Alright. Once again, we wait. Ladies and gentlemen, this has taken far longer than I would have liked it to, but at long last, we have all of our essential service buildings built, for the most part, along with a couple of small houses. Or not houses, but a couple of our, flats. So, I believe it is finally time for us to invite our first citizens. So, in here, I've already connected our shopping center and pub up to our logistics over at the border. Let's reduce the amount of sellers we have, that way our whole town isn't trying to be working here at the same time. And yeah, let's get to it. So, first things first, I want to invite as many people from the Eastern Bloc as I can. Lore-wise, this would be fellow citizens from the rest of Kingshas. And then we will also be inviting a few well-educated experts to work in our school, kindergarten, and all of that good stuff. Alrighty. Now, with our first citizens being in, they should quickly get to work filling up positions around the place, working on these unfinished paths. These are so small that our mechanisms, our bulldozers and excavators, aren't actually able to work on them. Once this gets finished as well, we will be able to send some of them over down here to this unfinished bus, or this free bus station to work in our water treatment plant. I'll also go ahead and invite people into this building as well, along with a couple of educated folks. hopefully they'll quickly get to work on these gravel pathways along with getting the heating system online. I'm realizing now that I'm worried about how is this connected to the road? I just realized. Like that. Cool. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to keep working on trying to get all of this finished up, and I will talk to you later. So I made an extremely costly mistake. Um, Turns out this platform that I built needs a second road connection. So I may be screwed. Oh, crisis averted. Basically, now I just got ahead of myself essentially. Um, I need more people. So as I'm tearing apart these last couple of paths, I'm hoping that'll allow me just enough room to sneak a road in here and then reconnect everything up. As we finish up these last few buildings, the more and more people I get, the more stable the entire system becomes. Ladies and gentlemen, it is nearing the end of the year. This has taken far longer than I would have liked, but as Saffier approaches the end of its second year, we now have our first city. Everybody is moved into their apartments. People are buying from the shops, going to drink at our pub. Their homes are warm. The fire service protects them. They have power from our electricity grid. They're able to go swim in the dead of winter. And they have clean, fresh water thanks to our treatment facilities and bus route delivering workers over to the treatment center. They have top-of-the-line medical care from the best doctors of the rest of Kinshasa. And I believe this is a great start to begin our Republic at large. There's a few things left to do. There's a couple of paths that still need to be built. There's a monument there that I'm building. But the dream of Varanism is alive and well in Saffier. Alrighty, I think that's the end of the episode. I thank you all for tuning in. I know this has kind of been a little all over the place. The early game is always very wild, I suppose. Slow, but there's a lot of micromanaging that needs to be done. Thank you so much for tuning in. In the next episode, we're going to be going into our first industries. Oil, of course, but likely also agriculture and construction materials. We'll also come back over to focus on our construction sector, which I've been expanding, and redo our storage systems to accommodate a more efficient way to load and unload them, and also perhaps some construction industries. And last but not least, with our large population and 17% unemployment rate, I think it's time to put the workers to work. There's a specific industry that we've not even touched on yet, and it's right here. I think it's time to start putting our people to build rails. Alright, folks, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Leave a comment with any feedback or criticism you may have. I would love your suggestions for Untitled Settlement 1. I'm quite proud of how this is turning out, and I hope to see you next time. Have a good one.